Here we go.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the latest edition of the Burgundy Brigade podcast. I am your host, Kevin Goff. You can find me on the Twitter at BRG Brigade Kevin. Joined, as always, by my fantastic co-host, Aaron Music. He is at Avalangelist. Aaron, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm just about as fantastic as I can be.
Had a
no hockey for a while.
Yeah, I mean, there's hockey for a little bit more, but not.
There's no Avs
There's
hockey.
no Avs hockey.
It's the best hockey that ever hockeyed in the history of hockey.
It is the best hockey that ever hockeyed. That is for sure. In the history of the hockey. So, obviously, this is a sort of in memoriam podcast. The Avalanche eventually did succumb to the Nashville Predators. Game 6 was not a very fun experience for really anybody. It was kind of an ugly way to go out, and
turns out starting your third-string goaltender against the President's Trophy winning team isn't a recipe for extended success.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but that was where the Avalanche ended up being. Where Hammond, of course, came in and stole Game 5, played excellently in Nashville, and then didn't manage to continue that form and gave up a bunch of goals in a 5-0 rout. And I mean, in the long run, obviously, the players after the game, of course, were upset. Mostly, obviously, because you get eliminated in an elimination game on home ice, and you don't get anything going in like that. That's not a way that you want to end your season, regardless of how good of a season it's been overall. It still leaves a little bit of a bleh.
I'm kind of glad they ended the season at home so that the fans could say goodbye to them.
Yeah, I think they like that too.
Because that's been such a bond that's been built this year. Pepsi Center's back and alive, and it's nice to see again. It was nice to honor that.
Yeah, it was wonderful to hear how involved the crowd was during the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. And even from about January on, they were really involved in the games overall.
Yeah, it's a welcome change for sure. I mean, there is still it's still a place where far too many visiting fans are coming in every night, but
yeah, and I get that, but it's also kind of a fun environment to be in. It's almost like a neutral site game, so you get like both the fan bases get riled up, and it actually puts a little more energy in the building, which actually helps the Avs.
Yeah,
I don't mind it as much as I used to. Obviously, I'd prefer it to be more Avs fans than other, but I went to both the Blackhawks games in Colorado with my wife's friend and her boyfriend, who's a Blackhawks fan. So it was kind of fun having that dynamic there with all the games.
Yeah.
Of course, he didn't really enjoy the games.
Yeah, not too many Blackhawks fans enjoyed a lot of Blackhawks games this year.
Well, they'll be back next year.
Yeah, they won't stay down for long, that's for sure. They still got a lot of good players in there, and obviously, and Corey Crawford being out for as long as he was this year, he's a very underrated goalie in the NHL.
Fans understand that a little bit. Look what happened to them when Varlamov went out.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There are very few teams that can say, "Yeah, that's our best goaltender. We're fine."
We good. Yeah. Yeah. So coming back, what's your overall impression of the series that the Avs had with the Predators?
They pushed them more than Nashville was expecting, and they shot themselves in the foot, and their specialty teams let them down in the worst way.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they proved that they can hang with and beat the best teams.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think that the Avs, if nothing else, came out of that series being able to say, yeah, we can skate with anybody. We can play with anybody.
This team in the NHL.
Yep.
And they did really well.
They absolutely did. For a good while there, they looked like they were at home in the playoffs and just knew what to do. It took a little bit to get to that spot, but while the play was going, they were fast, they were hungry, they were active and engaged throughout that series. And it wasn't really until
different from like the Minnesota series where they kind of did a duck and cover, I guess is the only way I can say it.
In that Minnesota series with when they won the division, they played amazing hockey at home, and then they didn't do a damn thing on the road. They played well in that game 6, where they had an opportunity to close out the series. In Minnesota, that was by far their best game in Minnesota. Had multiple opportunities to win that game, and then just didn't. And we all know what happened going forward from there. This one, the Avs were in. They were involved. They were in every single game. They were, and by in it, I don't just mean that the score was close. I mean that the pace was there. The team was engaged in playing the game and pushing the pace and doing what you need to do to win hockey games. And it was a consistent thing throughout each of the games of the series, pretty much except for Game 6.
Right, up until the last one, they never got run out of the building until the last one. They bent, they buckled, but they always came through.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of the other things that came out of that is that came out of the series is I don't see Nashville winning the Cup this year anymore.
I actually see, especially the way Winnipeg played, A, their first game, and B, the first series. Winnipeg is really going to be tough.
Winnipeg, Vegas, Pittsburgh, Boston. Those maybe your 4.
Tampa Bay.
Tampa's possible there. I mean, Tampa as well, but I mean, Tampa and Boston are playing right now.
Right.
So it's up for really whoever's.
Does anyone think the Capitals are going to beat the Penguins?
No, I don't think there's any. Come on, who thinks that?
Delusional Capitals fans.
I mean, come on.
I feel really bad for them because, you'd like to at least get one over on them, right?
Well, I mean, they did beat Pittsburgh in a playoff series a long time ago when Semyon Varlamov was their goaltender.
And then what happened?
Yeah, I know, right? But I mean, they can't get out of the second round. I said it. I put it out on Twitter. I said I will believe it when it happens. Until then, I will never pick it. There's no way I will ever pick it.
Yep.
Yeah.
The East bracket was pretty easy for me. I've actually nailed all of it except for Toronto.
I know. Same with me. I got the entire first round except for Toronto. Frickin' Maple Leafs. Yeah, I don't know. But coming back to it, now, just the Predators aren't. They don't have that swagger that they kind of seemed to have throughout a lot of the regular season, where whatever they did.
We walked into the first round thinking it would be 5 games and they'd be done, and then when that game went to when the Avs came out and they almost took game 1, and they fought hard in game 2, and then they ran them out of the building in game 3. They were like, "Oh, we have to show up."
About that. And Pekka Rinne has been 2 completely different goalies this entire playoff series. He was not very good the majority of the series against the Avalanche. He got pulled again after game 1 with Winnipeg here.
If Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Swiss cheese.
Yeah, if you don't get the Pecorine that they really need him to be, they're not. I don't think they. I don't see them getting past Winnipeg. Winnipeg is too good to not have your goalie on his game on that, and I don't think UC Saros is gonna.
Pecorine was younger and a little bit better, because otherwise, because they have. A backup goaltender, UC Saros, that I would love to get my hands on.
I know that wouldn't be an easy thing to.
Not easy, but
especially with how old Rene is.
Established in the NHL, he's at the end of his. I mean, I have to see what's Nashville's cap situation like. They're projected to have 7.5. And they have to resign Evelyn, Fisher, Hartnell, so no one really to resign.
They also do not have a first or second round draft pick this year.
Mm-hmm. I was just kind of wondering if we could drop an offer sheet on them and they couldn't match. But, nope, they can.
Yeah. I guess it depends on the size of the offer sheet, but... Yeah, I don't know. Just
dropping a $7 million offer sheet on a 23-year-old goaltender, I'm sorry.
What? Why not?
Who do you think plays for the Cup this year?
Man. Well, I mean, I'll tell you who I had in my bracket. I had Nashville and Tampa.
Me too.
I don't think it's going to go that way anymore. I kind of now think it may end up being Winnipeg and Pittsburgh.
I think the winner of the Atlantic Division is going to go to the Cup, whether that be Boston or Tampa.
It's possible. I don't know. It's just Pittsburgh just
a lot of tread on those tires.
They do
don't have a second goaltender.
They do, but all they do is win. That's all. That's all they have been doing, and I completely understand. I completely get exactly. And I've thought about that as throughout this season as well. But even so, coming into their first round with the Flyers, Philly had a lot of opportunities, and there were a couple. Philly had a lot of opportunities to score a lot of, and they did score a lot of goals on the Penguins. But they just found out how to win. That's all. That they just won the game. And Matt Murray is an outstanding goalie. And you can't. You can't. It's hard. How do you not? Crosby, Kessel, Malkin.
They've won it. They've done it twice in a row. There's a lot of. It's hard to do it.
No, I completely understand. It's so hard to not bet on those guys because they just have so much going for them.
And after watching them play the first round and now the first two games, I'm going Vegas. Vegas to not to win it, but they get to the finals.
You know what would be the perfect matchup then?
Vegas-Pittsburgh?
Vegas-Pittsburgh. So you get Marc-Andre Fleury.
Oh, that's nervous because Pittsburgh would win that so badly.
You think?
Mm-hmm. They would throw waves upon waves of center depth, and the only guy that's shooting better than William Karlsson is Jake Gensel.
God, that Gensel guy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Anyway, we're getting a little bit off track already there. Coming back to the Predators here. I know we kind of talked about this on the last one. I know there was a lot of there's a lot of little bit of animosity going on on Twitter towards the Predators, but I mean, all in all, this really isn't butting into like this big fierce rivalry. I don't think. Yeah, about as much as I can say about it, and I think, and I was listening to, I forget what they call it. It's the Mile High Sports one with JJ and Ryan Bolding, their podcast, and Ryan said it perfectly. Is that about as much as he could say as he felt like the way that Nashville kind of came into the series and threw their head back and dove and embellished through the series, that the most that it did for him was it basically just it's not like he lost a ton of respect, but it diminished his appreciation for them. And I think that's the perfect way to word that. I haven't really lost respect for the team, but it definitely diminished my appreciation for what they're doing, because they don't need to do that crap. And the way they just kind of rode in with this whole we're gonna cross check and nut punch you after every single whistle, yet snap our head backs and whine to referees when you do anything to us. It's just, you don't need to do it. You just don't need to do it. And they're still an amazing team with some fantastic players. It just that kind of made me go, come on, guys, you don't got to do that.
The guy that I still don't like, and he's going to be gone probably, Ryan Hartman.
Yeah.
That guy, he's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one. He headshotted Soderbergh.
Mm-hmm.
Had a little thing going with Andrighetto in Game 3, I think it was, where he just dropped the. Huh?
5, I believe. Game 4.
One of them.
I want to believe. I'll give.
Oh yeah, 4 was right. You're right.
He did with Andrighetto, because Andrighetto was putting a stick where his livelihood lies.
Sure.
And moving it in a rather deliberate way.
I don't mind him. I don't mind him screaming at the ref about that.
No,
that's
even there. I would be like, yeah, I'm gonna make it a point and go after the player. I would not pull him down from behind though. That's just a lot of dangerous that you don't want to deal with. But
drop your gloves, body slam him, wait till the ref has a hold of him, and throw a couple right hooks in his nose when he's not fighting back. How about that?
That sounds like Darren McCarty.
That's what Hartman did.
I know.
Yeah.
Making an equivalation.
Gotcha. Yeah. So at the most, that's kind of where I stand with that. It's one of those. I hope that they stop doing that, because they just don't need to. They just don't need to. So cool, and then we kind of already discussed how we think the playoffs are going to look going forward here. Nice to see Paul Stastny getting involved in some stuff up there. I mean, I know a lot of
reasons that I'm rooting for Winnipeg. I love Stastny. I still love him, and I'd love to see him win the cup. I'd love to see him win the cup here, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward, then, let's discuss some of the next steps here for the Avalanche. Obviously, the draft lottery just happened.
Hey!
And
worked out really well for the Avs.
Yeah, all in all, it did.
Arizona didn't win, which I kind of wanted because they actually played their tails off and deserved to win. But I also didn't want them to win because they played the tails off and they're looking dangerous already next year.
Yeah. So the Buffalo Sabres were the big winners. They
have another player they can fail.
They ended up with the number 1 overall pick, and they had the best odds to do so. So finally, the lottery worked out for someone.
Before we go on, can the Buffalo Sabres pick bring a little bit of the love of the game with him to Buffalo? Ryan O'Reilly needs it.
Maybe they can go out to coffee and find it. Just don't let O'Reilly drive.
I was going to say, get some Timbits. And,
just be like, I'll meet you there, dude. I'll meet you there.
You know what's great about Tim Hortons and Ryan O'Reilly? Doesn't matter where they are, they're all a drive-through.
Oh, man. Savage. Wow, man.
I'm not going to stop. Won't stop. Never stop.
Can't stop. Won't stop. The Carolina Hurricanes jump 9 spots from the 11th overall pick to number 2 overall. And then Montreal wins the 3rd overall pick.
What do you want to bet they go with Kachuk there?
You
And
think?
leave Zadina all on the board.
Maybe.
They would leave Zadina to Ottawa. Please don't do that, Montreal. I'm joking here. Do not listen to me.
Then, of course, Ottawa's at 4 because they dropped down a couple spots there. Arizona's 5.
They are keeping the pick.
Mm-hmm. Ottawa is keeping their pick. So the Avalanche will receive Ottawa's first-round pick for the 2019 draft to finish off the Matt Duchene trade. Arizona's 5. Detroit is 6. Vancouver is 7. Chicago is 8. The New York Rangers are 9. Edmonton, the draft sweethearts, are now 10th overall.
Shouldn't have traded Taylor Hall.
The New York Islanders will pick consecutively at 11 and 12 because they have Calgary's first-round pick. And then Dallas is 13. Philly is 14 from St. Louis. And the Florida Panthers are 15, followed by the Colorado Avalanche at 16.
Philly is 14 from St. Louis. Did St. Louis trade theirs?
It looks like it. I don't know. That's what it says on the NHL.com story here right now. So I
know St. Louis got a pick from Winnipeg, but I don't remember them trading there.
Well, they got a first round from Winnipeg.
Yeah, I just don't remember them trading theirs.
Yeah, I did.
You see, St. Louis 2018 first round pick, conditional if in the top 10. The Blues, and okay. Sorry, I can't finish this without laughing. They got it in the Braden Shen deal.
Oh, classic.
Well, not a bad deal, but the Flyers took on Yori Laterra for that, and they're really regretting it.
So what were you calling this lottery? The Ottawa Sadness Bowl?
No, I was calling the first round matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Nashville Predators.
Oh, the Ottawa Sadness. Gotcha.
It's like the KFC snack bowl that's left out for 3 hours, and you still have to eat it.
That sounds like a bad thing that would happen at a frat party.
That just sounds like college.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, this year's draft is going to be interesting. I haven't started digging into a whole lot of the prospects yet. But I've looked at one or two, and one of there's a couple guys that I've seen in some of the mocks that are out already that they have slide into the Avalanche. There's another Finnish player whose name escapes me at the moment that looks pretty good. And then there's Ryan McLeod in Mississauga that is an interesting look. And we'll look at draft picks coming up there, but that's just a couple of random names to peek around about maybe. What do you think the Avs go for in the first round?
I actually would not be surprised to see them take the top ranked goaltender. Whoever it is,
I would.
Is worthwhile.
I'd be super surprised.
But honestly, I think the Avs just go best player available. They see who falls to them and who fits in with their speed skating style, and they go with them.
Yeah, I think at that point,
the Avs have identified what they want to be as a team.
Mm-hmm. They
can draft it under that identity and hopefully keep snagging up good prospects like they have the past 2 years.
Yeah,
but that's just me. What do I know?
Well, what do any of us know? Joe Sakic had his end of the year press conference shortly after the Avalanche were eliminated, and had some interesting things to say. Specifically, what on the needs for the off season. This is what Joe Sakic said. He said the key for us is we are going to stay the course. We had an amazing, amazing year from our guys. We have a young team. It's not like our guys are going to be 7-year pros all of a sudden next year for some of our younger players. We expect growth from them, but, we are going to stay young. In the next couple of years, we may even get younger with some of our guys. We want to, if we can, even try to get a little bit quicker and faster out there. We love the way we play the game. It's fast, it's entertaining. You see the Pepsi Center here, especially the last couple of months with the new generation of fans. The building has been alive back where it once was. It's exciting. We know the fans here are excited about this group of players. They believe in each other, and there's no quit. They play hard, and we want to keep to that. The dressing room had great chemistry, and we want to make sure that whatever we do, the chemistry in the dressing room is good. So the part that sticks out to me real quick is the in the next couple of years we may even get younger with some of our guys.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think he was even being coy there. I think they're going to do that this offseason.
Yeah.
That means replacing guys like Blake Como with AJ Greer. Actually, I would not be shocked to see Blake Como go away and Gabriel Bork takes his spot on that line. They seem to like him. They do. They do seem to like Gabriel Bork. I think he's very well fit for the fourth line role that he played. Mm-hmm. I don't know that that line to be your fourth line going forward. What's that? You would like that line to be your fourth line going forward. Sorry. Prieto, Soderberg.
Yeah, Soderberg. That's the name I was going for.
I feel like those two are interchangeable, and you can save yourself some money to spend somewhere else.
I don't know that that's a fourth. That's the one you want to be your fourth line. I mean, a lot of those guys a couple of those guys you mentioned are PK unit number 1 as well, which especially the Soderberg, Como, those guys are the first guys out on penalty kills.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's which one on your fourth line.
I don't know that. I feel like it's something they may do if they really want to get younger and faster. That's something that they can go along with if they really wanted to go forward and do that. I would not be opposed to Blake Como coming back. I can't believe I'm saying that 1 year later.
I know, right? So now I'm kind of with you. I'm expecting after that. I expect Blake Como will likely be gone, which is unfortunate because he had a very good year this year. Even if you go back as far as a couple of years ago, he was really just had one really bad season here, which has coincided with everybody else having a terrible season as well. As he's been here, he's been a very positive. Generally speaking, his overall presence has been very positive for the Avalanche.
And it's one of those. I'm not opposed to him staying. I'm also not really opposed to him going.
Yeah, I think AJ Greer fits his mold. The big question will be then, will be if who can come in and take his spot on the penalty kill specifically, because I don't know that AJ Greer is ready for that yet.
Gabriel Bork, that's who I'm going with.
Well, and Gabriel Bork is good on the second penalty kill unit, and we know Bednar loves him on the PK. He loves him for some Gabriel Bork killing penalties.
Well, he loves the effort that Bork brings with him.
Yeah.
Every shift, he's just skating as hard as he can.
He can. He does indeed. Now, the Avalanche have not very many guys coming off the books here. The Avs have Blake Como, UFA. Matt Nieto will be an RFA, who is arbitration eligible. Nail Yakupov will be RFA. Gabriel Bork is a UFA. Patrick Nemeth is RFA. Mark Barberio comes up as a UFA. Duncan Siemens is... How is Duncan Siemens still restricted?
Especially because he looks like he's 30.
I know, right? But Duncan Siemens is apparently a restricted free agent, is also arbitration eligible. Mark Alt, UFA. Jonathan Bernier and Andrew Hammond are both unrestricted. Spencer Martin is restricted. And then we mentioned this last time. Scoring sensation Joe Colborne is unrestricted at the end of this season. He has a buried contract, so I think we know what's going to happen.
McLeod is coming off. His contract is coming off the books. So is Francois Beauchemin.
Yep.
So it gives him an extra $5 million to play with.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the extra 1.4 that you're getting with Colborne.
I mean, we all know where we're going with some of this, right?
I'm just saying the Avs have a lot of cap.
The Avalanche are. We don't know exactly what the salary cap is going to be set at next year. I want to say I saw something that said it might be $78 million. This year at 75, the Avalanche at 70. If the cap limit were $75 million, the Avalanche had have a projected amount of $25 million. 300,000.
They're going to have about $30 million before signing.
Yeah.
After signing people, probably in close to 20. That's on the low end.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, that's on the very low end.
It depends on Como Bernier.
Yeah. So then who? The reason why Joe Sakic's thing sticks out to me is because he says he's talking about sticking to the process, which obviously I think is fine. And wanting to really keep going with the young guys, and we've kind of been over it, and I know we've been over it a lot. This whole concept, we don't want to just go out in chasing an old veteran for the sake of getting an old veteran, because they did that plenty with Patrick Waugh, and that never worked. But are we now saying that there's not really a chance that the Avalanche are going to explore John Tavares?
Well, Sakic was asked about free agents and specifically him, and he does say that they'll poke around and see if the free agent can improve the team going forward, and if that they'll do their due diligence. He didn't dismiss it out of hand, nor did he openly say, "Yeah, we're going to do that."
Well, that's good because I want my dream to live on.
I'm at the point where I don't think it's going to happen. But I'd like it to.
I don't know too many other teams that have quite the amount of. There's a few, obviously, but I don't know too many other teams out there that have not only have the cap space to make it happen, but also have the type of team that he would want to come to.
Right.
I
have a guy who I'm actually talking with him right now. He thinks it's between Montreal, Toronto, and New York Islanders. But I don't see Toronto having the money. Montreal, I don't see him wanting to really go there just because of how terrible they were. I mean, yeah, he'd be with Drouin, and that would be a pretty good tandem. But Montreal's time is up. They need to rebuild.
Toronto, looking at Toronto, their projected cap space is at about $25 million, but they have a ton of guys that they need to look to re-sign.
That they're going to need to pay Matthews. They're going to need to pay Nylander.
Very true. Yep, those guys are going to need to be coming up. Nylander is RFA this year, so he's getting
I just don't see a scenario where you can actually in the next couple of years fit Tavares and Matthews under the same salary cap. Unless, of course, Toronto does their thing and runs Matthews out of town. I'm not even kidding there. They're already pissy about him.
It's more the fans than anything, you would say, yes.
Well, yeah, but the fans and the media are one and the same, and there's only so much a player can take before he's like, I'm done, I'm out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting.
Dreamstake, Tyler Bozak.
Yeah, Bozak, I imagine, is probably not coming back. Plekanec is obviously not going to be back.
Don Moore, probably not back. But Nylander's...
They're obviously going to be getting William Nylander. That will likely look to extend Matthews this summer.
I would if I was them.
Yeah, before he goes and has another huge season and is like... And basically says, here's the keys to a big, gigantic truck. Fill it with money, and back it up to my house. And then Andreas Janssen is another young guy that they're probably going to want to
There's some bad contracts on Toronto.
Yeah, there's some interesting ones.
Henderson, he's okay, but Modified no trade clause at $5 million. Ron Hainsey making $3 million for the next year.
Next year.
Modified no trade clause making $3 million.
Yeah, that's just an old guy who wants to make sure he doesn't get traded at the end of it.
Matt Martin, $2.5 million for the next 2 years. That's bad. Then you have Nazem Kadri, who, I'm sorry, but he does not impress me. He don't impress me much.
Yeah. He's another one of the. He has a decent amount of skill, but he's also very dirty.
He's not worth 4.5 for the next 4 years. I'm sorry.
Well,
and then you got Patrick Marleau and his $6.2 million sitting on that cap for the next 2 years.
Indeed.
He's 38. What did you think you were getting, Toronto? So
did you know Nazem Kadri had 30 goals both this year and last year?
I think Toronto can do it, but I think it also will hamstring them.
Probably would, yeah.
Whereas, the Avs have most of their core locked up, with the exception of Rantanen and Zadorov, and neither of those are going to make more than 6.3.
Right, same with Girard. They're going to want to keep him around for a while.
And let's be honest here, there's going to be $5.5 million coming off the books before too long, because they're going to do something with Tyson Barrie. We pretty much know it. It's just about timing.
Yeah, it seems somewhat inevitable.
I love Tyson Barrie. He no-showed in the playoffs, but I love him, but you can't have $5.5 million and him and Girard and Timmon and Makar and. There's a war of attrition that you're going to be fighting there, and you just have to be ready. Because if you're not ready to move on from him, then he will move on from you.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Avs have the ability to re-sign him after this.
Prepare yourself emotionally.
He's a great team guy. I'd love to keep him around. I just don't see how the numbers line up. The numbers can line up if we don't sign Tavares.
Yes, I would agree there.
But I'd also really like to sign Tavares because second line center is something with a big gaping hole. Here's the thing that concerns me about the Avs. We've seen this before. They have a good season. They're amazing. They make the playoffs. Wasn't expected to. And then the bottom drops out and they're back into top 3 pick.
Right.
Or top 10 pick.
Yeah, we talked about this a lot coming up to the whole thing where we felt like this whole the rebuild might have been short-lived when Duchesne first came in and Joe Sacco was the coach and the Avs went in and made the playoffs and played San Jose in that first round, and then the following year fell off again, and then fell again and continued to fall.
Here's the thing that also concerns me. The Avs were driven incredibly to an unsustainable amount by Nathan MacKinnon. And by unsustainable, I don't mean MacKinnon can't do that again, because he can. But eventually teams are going to start scheming for that. And you need a second option to either A, make them think twice, or B, give you just a second option so that if he has a bad night or he goes down with an injury, he has someone who can be there. When he went down, they tried Kerfoot, they tried Jost, and those two are just too young. And I don't think they'll ever... Jost, maybe. I think he has the highest ceiling of it. I think we saw pretty close to Kerfoot's ceiling, maybe up a little bit more, but point-wise.
I mean, both of those guys have good...
I just don't want the Avs to rest on their laurels.
Yeah.
And say, oh, this was great, we're going to do this again. I want them to go out and get that second-line center to really drive the offensive engine so that they can actually get up and get to the third seat, get the second seat, maybe win the division, get the home ice. I want them to make the playoffs. I also want them to make it to the second round.
Yeah.
They haven't been to the second round since 2008. They haven't been beyond the second round since 2003, I believe. Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
It is a long time.
And I'm ready for that to come to an end.
Do you think the Avs might be looking to get their second center from within?
Maybe.
Because if they are, I don't know who that's going to be.
The question is if they're expecting one of Jost or Kerfoot to come up and snag that just by growth next year.
Well, I don't think it's going to be Kerfoot for one. If it's the choices between the two, I would say it would be Jost.
I would agree with that.
He certainly showed
he started to make a lot of plays in that Nashville Predators series that were really, really smart.
Yeah.
He was starting to take more time. He was slowing the game down more. He was finding open people. And I feel like you put that kind of patience and maturity, even for a 20-year-old, that's pretty mature for him to do what he did.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Shift him to the wing, put a dedicated second-line center that you paid for right in the middle between him and Andrew Ghetto, and you have a line that probably puts up 100 points combined between them, all of them. 100 points, yeah, right around there. Just with all three of them. Probably want more than that, but that's at least what you need. You didn't get that kind of production last year.
Yeah. He certainly needs to, if he's going to be that second line center, Jost or Kerfoot or whoever it ends up being, needs to step up that productivity level and show that they can handle that load. And Kerfoot has a fit. I think I don't dislike Kerfoot maybe on a wing on the second line.
I feel like Kerfoot reminds me a lot of Alex Tanguay.
Yeah. Very shifty, really good hands, sees the ice very well, and is a great passer. Really, really great passer. He shoots more than Tanguay does, but he definitely has that Tanguay ability to make you go, why the hell weren't you shooting that? Oh, that's why.
He scores more than Tanguay. He doesn't shoot more. It's about a net even. My favorite thing about Kerfoot this year was when he got the puck in front of the net, and the goaltender's way out of position, and he has the entire right side of the net to shoot at. Instead, he shoots it basically right at the goaltender, and it goes through beneath his elbow and in. I was just like, you want it to be. You just want it the hard way. Sorry for that noise.
It's all good. So let's kind of back this up a little bit. We came in talking about addressing some needs in the offseason here, and specifically with what's going to go on with Tyson Barrie. Adrian Dater posted this earlier in the day. It says, what about this for a trade proposal? I know, Aaron, you wanted to talk about this.
Mm-hmm. This is almost a perfect segue.
Specifically, Tyson Barrie and the 2019 first-round pick the Avs own of Ottawa's. So Ottawa's first-round pick next year would go back to Ottawa for...
No, you're reading it wrong. Because I read it wrong, too.
Are you sure? Because that's what it sounds like.
If you read it a little bit closer, because I did the same thing here. Let me pull it up.
The Avs own of Ottawa's. The pick that the Avs own of Ottawa's pick.
Maybe I misread it again. Because the phrasing of this changes. But, interesting. Now I can't find it. In any case, I would do... while I'm searching for this, do you think we saw the best year that Tyson Barrie is going to have, or is that normal for him?
What, this year?
Yeah. Keep in mind, he was on about a 70-point pace.
Yeah.
If you put it over an 82-game season.
Right, if you put it over an 82-game season. But at the same time, Tyson Barrie always has stretches where he goes cold or gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of think this is about what you get from him. And to a certain extent that, you kind of... I think it's possible that if he were to stay healthy, we could see a 70-point season out of him. But again, he has kind of yet to do that.
And 70 points from a defenseman, that's
huge.
Granted, if you're going to move him, you have to be prepared to replace it at least about 45. Because he routinely puts about.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say he's good for 50 pretty much each season.
Mm-hmm. So
60
what
if
about
it's
this
pretty
for a trade proposal? Tyson Barrie and the 2019 first-round pick the Avs own of Ottawa's. Okay.
Yeah.
For Carlson. That trade I don't do. If they want to do the 2019 first-round pick that the Avs have, that I do.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to trade that Ottawa pick unless it's a...
Well, I mean, and I think in that situation, you would probably have to be sending Ottawa whichever the picks is expected to be higher, because it's not just any defenseman. That's Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, but you're also saying he's not signed in this deal.
Agreed, and that's my next thing. And it's like I said, I think I said this last podcast as well. I don't make that deal at all unless I am given the opportunity to speak with Erik Karlsson before the trade is consummated, so to speak.
Even do kind of a sign and trade. I'd also kind of like them to, if they want to do this and they want their first round draft pick, throw in Hoffman. Throw back Hoffman and Karlsson.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know that if you're getting Karlsson, I don't know that you're really going to be able to say, hey, how about this guy? Because, if they're willing to send you that guy. Karlsson's not just a 70-point defenseman. He's like an 80-point defenseman.
But realize we also have Ottawa bent over a barrel here. Am I wrong?
Well...
I'm not wrong here.
Well, who comes at it from more of a position of strength? What is the most desirable portion of that trade?
Karlsson is more desirable.
So who has the power then?
I think the value between Barrie and Karlsson is horrendously off. Karlsson's making 6.5. Barrie's making 5.5. They put up very similar point totals. And a lot of what you lose with Karlsson, you get with a minor step down in Barrie. So I don't see that. I don't see the value too terribly far off there. And you get extra years on Barrie's contract.
How close are their numbers? I don't think their numbers have ever really been that close.
You might be surprised. Let me pull up Tyson Barrie's. Because he usually gets around... Okay, Tyson Barrie's this year were really close to what he usually does. Which is enough to whet the appetite of someone. So it's all about... I have a tough time with this trade. Because I really like having that Ottawa pick. It's
I do
really
as well. Yeah, I mean...
It's really in line with what the Avs are doing, because they're still... Playoffs or not, they're still rebuilding.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Took a look at the San Antonio roster and saw how little of that was the Avs. They're still rebuilding.
Yeah. Very, very true. So it's going to be a lot of the off-season stuff.
68 games.
What's that?
Tyson Barrie had 57 points in 68 games.
Yep.
That's good.
That is definitely very good. Absolutely. Karlsson had 62 and 71 this season, so not markedly more. So that's, but again, that's this year. This 1 year. Karlsson has 4 seasons over 70 points. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Plus an 82-point season. Huh?
How long ago were those?
Last year he had 71. The year before he had 82. The year before he had 66. The year before he had 74.
Good to know.
Karlsson has been at a much higher level for much longer than Barrie has.
That is fair. Tyson Barrie is Karlsson light as far as everything that he does. He's just not going to have that same level of... Wow, he had 62 points on the Senators this year?
Yep.
Okay. Now, you know what? I didn't realize he was as good on that bad of a team. I'm coming around. I'd still like to maybe use the Avs first instead of the Ottawa first, but I don't think
that would be a tough sell, I think.
It would be a tough sell, but,
Yeah, I mean, if nothing else, I certainly don't think the Avalanche have Ottawa bent over a barrel by any stretch of the imagination in that.
Depends on if they're sheesh. So I'm looking at Carlson's numbers here. 62 and 71, 71 and 77. 82 games, 82 points in 82 games. 21 goals, 66 points in 82 games.
He's a former Norris Trophy winner, if I remember
74
correctly.
points in 20 goals in 82 games. 14 points in 17 games in 2012 and 13.
Yeah, I mean, Carlson's a guy that obviously anybody would love to have on the team, but just like I said, in this situation when he's coming up on a spot where he could be where he would be going unrestricted, I don't do any sort of deal bringing him in because knowing that it's going to cost me so much without knowing that he will be re-signing with the team. So that's
the numbers of Carlson against everyone else. He's Brent Burns-esque.
Yeah.
I forget who. Someone did a mock-up Photoshop of Carlson in an Avs jersey. He looks so nice.
It did look very good. There's no denying that. And it certainly is. I mean, that's the type of thing that I would immediately run and make sure that I do on my NHL 18. But yeah, I mean, I have to know for a fact that Carlson will be there after the season is done, and that he's not going to go running to unrestricted free agency, because that is selling a whole lot of stuff down the river that you just don't want to. I mean, that first round pick of Ottawa's could end up being
basically. If you can turn Tyson Barrie into Erik Karlsson, who signed, I do that.
Then absolutely I do that.
Yeah. The only thing is, I would pick one of Tavares or Karlsson. Pick who I want. Yeah. You can't afford both.
I would pick Tavares, I think. I think. Mostly because I feel like the contract number will be less. Not like immensely less, but I don't think you're going to pay quite as much for Tavares as someone's going to pay for Karlsson. I think Karlsson may end up being upwards in that 11 to 12 million category, just because he's not just. He's that defenseman that puts up an immense amount of points, and those guys get crazy money. Yeah, man. So let's see here. We put out some stuff at the just before we got going here. Did Vegas and San Jose finish up yet? Or are they still playing?
I'm upstairs away from the TV.
Yeah, I'm out of the room away from the TV because my kids are out there. So I guess we'll see. I kind of hope San Jose wins.
End of OT, it's still 3-3.
Alrighty. So I put out a little thing early on that said, send us some of your favorite moments of the season. I got a couple things to read from you. For you, we had at JavaJu21, J-U, JavaJU21. This has got to be the dog pile after Landy's empty net goal during the Blues do-or-die game. That was magic. That was a pretty awesome moment. My favorite part about that dog pile was Rantanen coming in about 5 seconds after the fact and doing a little trout dive onto the pile.
It was that. I don't know that I've been in the building and it's been louder than it was then.
That was huge. At that_1kid27. That's a fun. I like that one. It says, being at the Sharks Wild game in San Jose, and I remember yelling, "The Avs are going to the playoffs!" after seeing the score. That's very cool. At another game, seeing the scoreboard and freaking out that the Avs are going to the playoffs. That's awesome. That is awesome. There were a couple other ones. Here's Sportster 5280 says the day they traded Duchesne. There are a couple. There's another one that at Sick. I can't pronounce this. Sick Lucette Lux 666 says Duchesne getting called off the ice at the Islanders game for a mid-game trade. They also add in Landy's hat trick versus Washington and Game 82. So Duchesne getting traded was a common one. Landy had a couple hat tricks this year.
Washington, which was?
That was, he had some pretty impressive games there. I think was it the Washington one where he got the hat trick and then someone finally gave him a splash of water in the face?
Yep.
That was amusing.
I think it was Nieto who did it.
I think there were a couple of them. I think there were two guys that got him.
2 or 3, yeah.
That was fun. Game 82 absolutely was a huge one. AvsFan20, who is Chris, says Girard's goal in Game 82. That was a huge goal. And then you never really see Sam Girard with a lot of emotional responses, and suddenly he's fist pumping and shouting and into it. That was obviously an immensely huge game for the team.
My favorite moment of the year has to be the Milan Hajduk game.
Yes.
With jersey retirement. The ceremony was beautiful. And the part where they had his actual, junior team, the team that he coaches, bring his jersey on the ice.
Yeah.
That was no dry eyes in the house there. That was beautiful. Really well done. And then they smoked the Wild in one of the most dominating games I've ever been at. Beginning to end, the Avs were just like, yep, you're done. You're kneel before Zod.
Yeah.
Especially the last goal that McKinnon scored there, where he just pointed, and it was the perfect blend of joy and cockiness. Yeah, I did that. What you going to do about it? The only thing I didn't like about that was Dubnyk being like a baby and beating up Kerfoot with a sucker punch and then punching his head while he was on the ground.
Well,
that was
gonna Dubnyk, right?
I feel like that should have been suspension.
I agree. I certainly agree. Yeah, I think that Wild game has to be my favorite moment of the season as well, for most of the exact same reasons that you mentioned. Not the least of which being just absolutely smoking the Wild. And I think more than just that game, I think getting over the hump against the Wild this year was one of my favorite parts of this season, because it wasn't just that game. Because the Avs hung 7 on him in that one, ran him out of the building. It was never close. That was the one where Zadorov choke slammed Eric Stahl at the end of the game or something.
Yeah, that one was there because Eric Stahl decided to slash Zadorov.
Yeah.
And Zadorov looked at him and went, "Really?"
Yeah, yeah. It just was. That was just a friendly reminder, Eric Stahl. I can end you. Thanks.
I must break you.
Yeah. But then the next time the Wild came into Denver, the Avs hung 7 on them again. And then the Avs went to Minnesota. Huh?
And they beat them in Minnesota.
And they went to Minnesota and put 5 up in Minnesota and just made Dubnyk look absolutely stupid.
And Ryan Suter, too.
Yeah.
And scored going around him. Suter he's got a lot of miles on those tires.
He does indeed.
And 7 more years.
I was just going to ask, how many more years? And Dubnyk is under contract with the Wild until the 2020-2021 season.
Yeah, they should be rebuilding by then.
They should start thinking about that.
Minnesota, this season, I think my favorite thing is it exercised a lot of demons for the Avs.
Yeah.
They beat Minnesota, home and road. They beat St. Louis. They found a way to do it.
Yep.
And the last thing was in the playoffs, Nashville. They had not beaten Nashville in since the Mayans.
Yeah.
And
It lost something like 13 straight to Nashville.
In one series, they ran him out of the building at home, and then they found a way to win on the road. When you exercise demons like that, you are allowed to grow as an organization. You're not continually thinking about, I don't like going there. That's a bad place to go. They always beat us. You go, we beat them before. Let's do it again.
Yep. Just a lot of really positive things came out of the year. Obviously, the Avalanche now have a couple. There's some awards potentially in the future for the Avalanche. Jared Bednar is a finalist for the Jack Adams, although we know that's going to go to Gerard Gallant.
Mm-hmm. It's the Jack Lindsay Hart.
What's that?
It's the Jack Lindsay Hart.
Right.
Jack Adams, Ted Lindsay, and the Hart Trophy.
There we go. McKinnon is a finalist for both the Ted Lindsay and the Hart Trophy. Ted Lindsay is the one where the players vote for the most outstanding player in the league. That one goes. Who are the other two? McDavid, McKinnon, and for Lindsay, who's the other one? I forget.
For the
Ted Lindsay, yeah.
Taylor Hall?
That's my first thought, but I don't know if that's right or not.
Let's see what Google says.
Probably Taylor Hall. You're probably right.
Yep.
Okay. And then, of course, the Hart Trophy finalists are Nathan McKinnon, Taylor Hall, and Anze Kopitar.
Are you a little surprised at Kopitar?
A little bit, but they brought up some of his stats that
I just feel like he's such a quiet player. He goes under the radar that I'm not mad. I'm just a little surprised. Yeah, it shows the writers are actually doing their homework,
which is stunning for one.
I mean, if they didn't, Alex Ovechkin would be going for the Hart Trophy as a center.
That's very true.
Do you remember that time they voted him like one of the best centers?
Or
he's like first team center, and everyone's like,
yeah. I think it was more like they messed up his wing, but yes, I do remember that. That was clever. But I mean, as far as Kopitar is concerned, when they were bringing him up. Because he was never a guy that was ever in any of the conversations. But then they started. So someone on NHL Networks mentioned he had 30 more points than the next guy on his team, and he does. He had 92 points this season, and the next guy had 61. So
Paul and McKinnon both powered their team into the playoffs.
I agree completely. I don't disagree with that at all. Here's where
Mature sport.
Oh,
Sharks win.
I know at least one person on Twitter who's very happy. Don Holio. Now, it should be either McKinnon or Hall. 100%. My thought is that it's going to be Kopitar because he's one of the bigger. He's a bigger name in a bigger market that people already know.
I think it's going to be McKinnon. Because he's had so many highlight reels.
I hope you're right, man. I'm so used to the Avalanche having people just completely and totally overlooked that it's until
they have some national writers who are paying attention. Puck Daddy Greg
Wyshynski.
Thank you. He's actually been on the forefront of being like, especially when the McDavid people are like, why aren't you voting for McDavid for Hart?
Which, by the way, one of his Puck Daddy writers, Dmitry Filipovich, is that the guy? I don't know. He's been with him for a while. Put something just a couple days ago that was like, there is only one right answer for the Hart, and it is Connor McDavid. I'm like, yeah.
I see Jeff Ouellette a lot going, McDavid.
I will say good on the writers for for McDavid not even being a finalist, because he shouldn't be. I'm sorry, he shouldn't be.
You were most valuable to a bad team. I don't care.
Yeah.
Away.
Off you go. You can have your Art Ross trophy. Enjoy that. So yeah. Yeah, I think McDavid ends up winning the Lindsay because that's players voted, and it's hard to. I mean, he is an amazing player.
Mm-hmm. The problem I have is people don't separate. Hall and McKinnon had the better year, while McDavid is the better player.
Yes, exactly.
And they can't get their mind around that subtle distinction. They think just because McDavid isn't the Hart that people don't think he's the best player. Yeah, go away with that.
Yeah.
Go away. And you know what I'd rather win?
What's that?
Conn Smythe.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with you there for sure. Any early front runners for you on the Conn Smythe front?
Marc-Andre Fleury.
Hard to argue that. By the same token, you could say
a good playoff.
By the same token, you could say Martin Jones.
Connor Hellebuck.
Yep.
Nashville, I'd go Philip Forsberg.
Yep.
That guy was a one-man wrecking crew in round one.
Hard to not say Jake Gensel. That guy's already. I mean, he's just.
Yeah, he's pretty smithy.
Yep.
Washington, Holtby.
Yeah, but they're not getting past this round. We all know that, right?
No, but they just both have a leader by club. And then Tampa Bay, I don't know who.
Yeah, I think you'd have to say Kucherov. I think he's got 5 goals, 5 assists already.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He's
So
turned
if
it
I was
back
to
on.
rank them, I would do Fleury, Hellebuck 1. I would do Rick Nash 2, because he's having a really strong playoff. And then I would probably do Fleury 3. But
I mean,
just go until then.
On Boston, it's hard to go from anybody off that top line because, my God, they will not stop scoring.
That top line is...
As long as it doesn't go to Brad Marchand.
Yeah, Licky McGee.
Exactly. I'll go lick the trophy.
I'm just going to send him a bunch of postage stamps and tell him to lick those.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right on. Well, I guess that's ends up being our in memoriam there. The Colorado Avalanche had themselves a damn good season, ladies and gents, and we're just...
I can't wait for next season. I hope it's even better.
Really am very excited. I know we've mentioned it. There's a certain amount... We have to try to be cautiously optimistic because, man alive, it would be just awful if but it's not going to happen. I'm not even going to go there. It's going to be a great next season, all right? Right, Aaron?
Oh, it's going to be great.
It's going to be amazing. They're going to keep making the playoffs, and they're going to win around, right? Right?
Oh, they're going to go all the way.
There it is.
It's going to happen.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Right on. Well, thanks for listening again. I know we kind of rambled along on this one as well. We'll have some more.
It should be a rambling one, though.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. The next stuff we'll put some stuff out coming up here on talking about draft picks, as that's the next big thing for the Avs. Looking forward to the draft with the number 16 overall pick. Then, of course, free agency, and then we have the month of August. Actually, well, most of July and August.
Except for my friend who was born there, nothing good happens in August.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And then October will be here eventually, right? Because then school will start again. And once school starts again for all you family folks and teachers, me included, and then time just starts rolling real quick. And then hockey will be back. It'll be back.
And for me, September means the model year closeout and things get nutso.
That's right. Let's get weird.
Oh, it gets weird.
Right on. Well, thanks for coming along with us on what's been a fun season. Hopefully the off season treats you well. You'll hear from us. You'll see us around. Aaron, thanks for podcasting as always, my man. I can't wait to do some more with you.
Of course. Good to chat with you as well.
Right on, brother. So, unless you got anything to add, I think we're going to call it a podcast.
Call it a podcast. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Dr. Nick. Oh, wait.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Right on. Thanks, everybody. Have a great time enjoying those Stanley Cup playoffs, and we'll talk to you later. Go Avs. Bye.